Okay. So it's been over 12 hours of straight research just for this video. So let's just go ahead and get this over with. I'm Lord Edgington of Goonsbury. Let's dive in and start some shenanigans. Okay, I already know that I'm going to sound like a boomer, so I'm just going to get this over with right away.
So I put this
Brainrot
on. Dude, I lasted 90 seconds. 90 seconds. I was open-minded. All right, put it on. 90 seconds later, I'm like this old man. This is it.
Real meme culture. I quickly realized that's not the point. At least, to be real meme culture is not the entire point. Let me explain. After seeing my Gen Alpha nephews slide towards inevitable iPad kid status, I wanted to try to consume enough Brainrot to give a more personal window as to why kids fall into this viewer trap. One Brainrot video led to another, and I soon found myself watching Indian Brainrot, then Italian Brainrot, and then eventually German and other places. So I wanted to analyze some popular international Brainrot, its effect on the youth of the world, and maybe plan some sort of potential solution. After 24 straight hours of watching and researching this decomposition of the mind bucket, I think that I'm possibly the most qualified candidate on the subject now. I know literally everything there is to know about Brainrot now. So either I'm a genius, or I wrote this script, sleep deprived, with a hypothesis to go along that made perfect sense, only to wake up the next day, read it, and think to myself, yeah, that's definitely the stupidest thought I've had all year. But let's try to see if I can convince anyone with my confidence. So speaking of hypothesis, my assertions are, Brainrot falls just shy of being actual education. With some adjustments, Brainrot and social media could provide actual utility and a purpose to mankind. And finally, Brainrot is just as dumb as the memes and jokes from your generation. To prove my point, let's compare an educational nursery rhyme about a grocery store to Einkaufen gehen, the viral German Brainrot.
Supermarket, supermarket, I love the supermarket for grocery shopping.
The song uses anthropomorphic animals to grab attention. It uses repetition to hold that attention, while explaining the purpose of a supermarket, therefore expanding the viewer's vocabulary through definition. It also utilizes modeling to demonstrate the purpose of the supermarket, so both visual and auditory learners both benefit. And it teaches these very well, for an audience of 1 to 3 years old. Outside of that age group, and they definitely tuned out. And that's the problem with education. It needs to be tailored to the learner's abilities. Let's now compare the previous clip with Einkaufen gehen. Quick note, I couldn't find an English translation, so I had to painstakingly translate this Brainrot by typing it into Google Translate. But this did actually offer me an opportunity to learn some contextual German grammar or idioms, which I will explain as the Brainrot progresses, as it will be important later.
Einkaufen gehen. Salami-Stöckchen. Durstlöscher. Löscht den Durst. Maggi Fürze.
Furz meaning soup stock, and the brand name is Maggi, so it sounds like Maggi Furz, Maggi Farts.
Die Scheidungspapiere meiner Frau. Immer dieser versehentliche Wagenstupser an den Hintern. Das macht dann Euro und Cent.
Now obviously this is for an older audience than the previous song, and maybe it's the translation, but I think this Brainrot actually has social lesson for German kids ages 6 to 10. There are several examples of dry German jokes. For instance, Maggie farts, my wife's divorce papers, thirst quencher, it quenches your thirst. All of these remind me of the dried wit, if you can call it that, of this peak German joke. Two hunters meet, both are dead. The final social lesson I want to point out is the potential innuendo. The pigeon is spanked by the cart, then the cashier says, that costs money. They also make what I think is a BDSM reference towards the end, which I cut out for time. And yes, all of this is a bit mature for this audience, but if you've ever seen German pornography, it tracks. These social lessons guide a young person on how to joke in public, or I'm overanalyzing and or misunderstanding my bad translation. If anyone speaks German and can tell whether I'm right or wrong through context, let me know in the comments. I'll leave the link to the video in the description. Let's refocus though. This German Brainrot uses most of the same teaching methods as the song, but to teach a far more trivial lesson. There are certainly ways to alter the video to make the lesson more impactful. Moving on to a country whose brain rot I'm sure you've seen invade your feed. Italy.
Trallallero trallallà, porco dio e porco allà. Bombardiro crocodilo. Un fottuto alligatore volante che vola. Liri lari là.
Now these videos use frequent rhymes and storytelling to get their point across. Whatever it is that point actually is, I couldn't tell you. Turkish brain rot follows a similar ideology to Italian brain rot, like this video. One moment, I just realized that this map is actually wrong. I don't recognize New Zealand.
Bal kabağı tatlısı kunduz. Oy 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 oy.
Now, while I crave to continue our quest across the continents, conveying countries' crap content, relating these brain rots to being just shy of education has always been a stretch, putting it mildly. But as I've researched education methods, trends, and barriers to learning, I've come to some stunning realizations. Illiteracy is frequently mentioned as being on the rise worldwide, but particularly in the US. Common causes people cite are COVID and brain rot. This is only partially true. COVID did cause a spike in illiteracy, but it has mostly returned to pre-COVID levels. Frequent brain rot viewing can cause a decrease in attention span and decreased retention, which negatively impacts learning. But it's negligible compared to the primary causes like parental involvement in learning, socioeconomic factors, and the quality of instructions, to name a few. If we are specifically looking at illiteracy and brain rot as a cause, 18% of the adult US population as of 2014 is functionally illiterate, meaning the inability to comprehend short text and basic vocabulary. We've seen peaks and valleys of illiteracy over the years, but the 2014 rate is at the level it was in 1870 to 1880. We have been in a similar situation before. May 9th, 1961, Newton Minow, the chairman of the FCC, gave a speech to the National Association of Broadcasters, where he delivered a quote that he is most remembered for.
When television is bad, nothing is worse. I invite each of you to sit down in front of your own television set when your station goes on the air and stay there for a day, without a book, without a magazine, without a newspaper to distract you. Keep your eyes glued to that set until the station signs off. I can assure you that what you will observe is a vast wasteland.
There was a moral and sociological panic at the time. A moral panic on how TV affected the youth, which evolved into violent TV and video games cause murder.
On the national conversation surrounding violent video games.
And a sociological panic related in part to education, specifically how were US students doing versus communist Russian students. Sound familiar? Chinese versus US students of today. Now, illiteracy decreased over this time actually. I think scope is important for context. In terms of raw data, broadcasts that aired in the US on television from 1930 to 1995 is estimated to be between 6 to 10 petabytes. The internet in terms of raw data from 1995 to present is estimated to be 329,000 petabytes per day and is forecasted to be 463,000 by the end of 2025. My point is, we've been here before at the crossroads of a technological revolution. Despite tech causing a compounding issue and TV spiraling out of control in our timeline, we now have the information as to what can happen without the proper controls. Tech got us into this issue, and tech could, in theory, get us out of it. I interviewed several teachers leading up to this video. When I asked them about my second assertion, 4 out of 6 referenced AI as a potential solution. AI is bad at several things, but contextualizing a student's grades, learning style, and other metadata to tailor a curriculum specifically for that student seems right up its alley. Imagine a student that struggles with math, seeing content like this pushed in their For You page.
Differentiation even useful?
Well, me and JJ even used it when we was playing Minecraft last night.
We only had 20 fences left to build an enclosure, but it was annoying because however we built it, the area was always different.
So how do you think we made the biggest area we could?
First, I bet you said that 2 of these lengths plus this width would need to equal your 20 fences.
But wouldn't we care more about the area of that?
Or perhaps the student is actually struggling with linear algebra as opposed to geometry.
Today I'm going to teach you about the matrix, and not the one that tried to attack me.
Is that a matrix?
Correct.
This one has 2 rows and 2 columns, right, Andrew?
Yeah, that's correct. Now listen.
See how specific AI curriculum could get? If reverse brain rot were tailored and then pushed to students in need, it could greatly expand the understanding of their weakest subjects. On to my final assertion, that the memes from your generation are just as stupid as current brain rot. To my millennial kin, I would say, to anyone older, yes, clearly you're so mature that there's no point in arguing. So I'll end my talk here. Thanks for getting this far, guys. Please subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Later.